In October 1996, Sharon Lopatka, a seemingly ordinary woman from Maryland, left her home for what would become the last time. She left a note for her husband Victor, saying she was going to visit friends in Georgia and wouldn't be returning. But what Sharon didn't tell him was that her journey was not to meet friends at all, but for something far more sinister. Sharon Rena Lopatka was born on September 20, 1961, in Baltimore, Maryland. By all accounts, she lived a normal life. She was the eldest of 4 children, active in school sports, and a member of the choir. In 1991, she married Victor Lopatka, a construction worker, and the two settled into a quiet suburban life in Hampstead, Maryland. To her neighbors, her family, and even her husband, Sharon seemed like the definition of normal. But what no one knew was that Sharon led a double life, one that would remain in the shadows for years until her death would force it into the light. It all began in 1995. Sharon started exploring the internet to make extra money for her household. She created websites that sold everything from home decor tips to psychic readings and even love potions. But behind these innocent ventures, Sharon was also drawn into something darker. Using pseudonyms, she began frequenting adult chat rooms, sharing twisted fantasies that revealed her deepest, darkest desires. She also marketed pornographic materials using the pseudonym Nancy Carlson. The content depicted different unconscious women performing erotic acts while hypnotized, chloroformed, or unconscious. Sharon's secret life became increasingly bizarre. She posted in forums, expressing an extreme desire to be tortured and ultimately killed. In over 900 pages of emails, Sharon detailed her fantasies to various strangers, hoping someone would fulfill them. And then, someone answered. Robert Glass was a computer analyst from Catawba County, North Carolina, a man who led a life that outwardly seemed as conventional as any. By all appearances, Glass was an average, middle-aged man with a steady job and a family. However, beneath this facade lay a deeply disturbing double life that would eventually lead to a horrific crime. Glass was married to Sherry, a woman who was initially unaware of the dark secrets lurking behind her husband's facade. The couple's marriage seemed to be going well, but tension and suspicion began to surface as Glass's peculiar online activities became harder to hide. By May 1996, Sherry could no longer ignore the alarming signs. Her husband's increasingly disturbing messages in online adult chat rooms. These unsettling revelations led to their separation, a pivotal moment that would set the stage for the tragic events that followed. After his separation from Sherry, Glass's life continued to unravel. His disturbed interests and hidden fantasies took center stage, and he became more deeply involved in online communities where he expressed his dark desires. Glass promised Sharon he would help her fulfill her ultimate wish, to be tortured to death. In October 1996, Sharon left her home and boarded a bus to North Carolina. Waiting for her at the end of the journey was Robert Glass. After months of intense communication via email, the two had plotted an unimaginable act. Sharon had explicitly asked Glass to torture and kill her, a request that was not only shocking but horrifying in its explicitness. Their exchanges spanned over 900 pages of emails, meticulously detailing every aspect of their planned meeting. These emails would later become critical evidence in one of the most bizarre murder cases in American history. Sharon believed that meeting Robert Glass would be the final act in the fantasy she had longed for. But what would happen next would shock even the most hardened investigators. When Sharon arrived at Glass's trailer in North Carolina, it was more than just a meeting of strangers. It was the beginning of an irreversible descent into darkness. What happened in those next few days is difficult to fathom. But what we do know is that Sharon's fantasy ended in tragedy. 3 days later, on October 16, 1996, Sharon Lopatka was dead. Glass had strangled her during what was supposed to be a consensual encounter. Meanwhile, back in Maryland, Sharon's husband grew increasingly worried. The note she left was vague, and after days with no contact, he alerted the police. When investigators traced Sharon's steps, they uncovered her secret life, email exchanges, and chat room conversations that revealed her plans to die by Robert Glass's hand. Armed with a search warrant, police arrived at Glass's property, where they discovered Sharon's body buried in a shallow grave not far from his trailer. Robert Glass was arrested and later confessed to the crime. In his confession, he claimed he never meant to kill Sharon Lopatka, insisting that the situation had spiraled out of control. Despite his claims of unintended consequences, Glass faced legal repercussions for his actions. He was charged with manslaughter and sexual exploitation, ultimately being sentenced to prison. On January 27, 2000, Glass received a sentence of 36 to 53 months for manslaughter, with an additional 27 months for second-degree sexual exploitation. This lengthy sentence reflected the severity of his crimes, though it did little to bring closure to the case. In a tragic twist, Robert Glass's story came to a sudden end when he died of a heart attack on February 20, 2002, just a month before completing his prison sentence. His death left many questions unanswered, leaving the full extent of Sharon Lopatka's secret life and the motivations that led her to such a dark and tragic end still shrouded in mystery. The case of Sharon Lopatka was one of the first in history where emails were used as evidence in a court of law. It left a disturbing legacy, forcing psychologists and law enforcement alike to confront the depths of online fantasies and their real-world consequences. Sharon Lopatka's death continues to baffle those who hear it. How could a woman who appeared so ordinary lead a life so dangerous and self-destructive? The case remains a haunting reminder of the double lives some people lead and the deadly consequences that can follow when fantasy meets reality. Sharon's story raises difficult questions about autonomy, consent, and the dark side of human desire. While we may never fully understand what led her down this path, one thing is clear: her fate was written in the shadows of the internet, long before her journey to North Carolina. Before we wrap up, it's worth reflecting on the deeper implications of Sharon Lopatka's case. Her story is not just about a tragic end or the sinister aspects of human desire. It's a chilling reminder of the dark consequences of unchecked fantasies and the complexity of consent. The eerie circumstances surrounding her death, the unsettling confession of Robert Glass, and the haunting mystery of Sharon's hidden life leave us grappling with questions about autonomy, the hidden aspects of human nature, and the often unseen dangers lurking online. If Sharon Lopatka's story captivated you as much as it did us, we invite you to subscribe to our channel for more riveting true crime cases. We want to hear from you. What part of Sharon's story impacted you the most? Was it the disturbing nature of her fantasies, the tragic outcome, or the unresolved mysteries of her case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss this chilling tale together. If you found this video compelling, don't forget to like it and share it with others who appreciate the dark, complex world of true crime. Your support helps us uncover more of these gripping stories.